Before I start this, I want to clarify that I'm open to there being details about the situation that I don't know, but when I contacted Sam about this, he was shifty and unwilling to answer my questions, so I don't really have a way forward except for this. A series of images have been floating around on the internet for years, particularly on 4chan, and if you're a fan of Sam Hyde, you may have already seen them. I've censored them slightly because it makes me uncomfortable even sharing them, but, you know, here they are. I wasn't able to trace their exact origin or who exactly posted them, but the first instance of them on the internet that I could find was a post from 2016. They certainly predate 2016, however. 2016 was when Sam started Hyde Wars, by which point his hair, his facial hair, and his glasses had changed from what we see in the pictures. But despite how long these photos have been around, again to the point where many MDE fans have probably seen them, nobody ever really got the facts straight on them, and so many different claims were thrown around that they were essentially disregarded. There were many other unverifiable rumors being spread about Sam as well, so that certainly didn't help things. In sum, I was unable to track down the origin of these pictures, but we do know what they depict. Sam Hyde with a girl named Marky. In one of the images, Marky appears to be topless, and in the image of her with Sam, they both appear to be topless, so we can assume this encounter was sexual in nature. From what I can tell, these pictures are from 2014, most likely taken between the months of February and May. I mention that time period in particular because Sam's appearance, again his hair, his facial hair, and his glasses, match how he looked in the old Bug Sports videos, which are from 2014, between those months. A little later down the line, he would dye his hair blonde and then change his glasses for Kickstarter TV and the early Hyde Wars episodes, and then he gradually morphed into how he looks nowadays. According to Sam's birthday, which is April 16th, 1985, and if the birth year on Marky's online voter records are to be trusted, which is 1997, he was 28 or 29 years old, while she was 16 years old. If she had already had her birthday in this first half of the year, then she would have been 17 years old maximum. Whether she was 16 or 17, this would technically be legal in his residence of Rhode Island, where the age of consent is 16. But most people don't look too fondly on that kind of age gap for obvious reasons. I mean, imagine me dating an almost 30-year-old man. I don't think anyone would be okay with that. The pictures themselves don't depict any nudity. They just barely cut off before that point. But are they cropped, and the full original images did contain nudity? I checked the resolutions of the two images, and they're not proportional to each other, which seems to suggest that they were indeed cropped. Did Sam take other pictures that did include nudity that were never posted for obvious reasons? Are we supposed to believe that he went out of his way to take pictures documenting his sexual endeavors, but he made sure that all of them were PG and none of them contain any kind of nudity? I ask this because although the age of consent in Rhode Island is 16, any pornography depicting someone under the age of 18 is still considered child pornography. So if these pictures were cropped to remove any nudity that was originally there, or if Sam took other pictures or even videos that contain nudity, that would be a criminal offense in Rhode Island. A little backstory about Marky, which I personally feel makes this situation look worse, is that when she was 16, she posted pictures of herself on 4chan. Creepy guys on there started getting obsessed with her, and they pressured her and blackmailed her into posting nudes of herself, which she did, which is child pornography. There's a couple of inferences we can make about that. One being that she was already clearly vulnerable and had already been exploited because of that. It's also reasonable to assume that because she was on 4chan, she could have been a fan of Sam Hyde, since MDE is a 4chan phenomenon. After all, her not being a fan would be even stranger and would leave me wondering how they even got connected in the first place. But if she was indeed a fan, that would make the power dynamic between them even worse. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I reached out to Sam myself about this. And I have screenshots of our discussion. You can read them if you want. I'm just gonna read the relevant portions here. So we talk about a bunch of like the other rumors about him on there, and I just ask him, yeah, I figured all that stuff was fake, and thanks for responding. It's just the Marky stuff that's throwing me for a loop, like the pic with the bloody nose. I don't know what to make of it. And he says, she's known to get nosebleeds. That's like one reason why she's popular with these freak people. That wasn't from me, swear on my life, swear on my money, lol. And then, because he's not really answering my question, because I'm asking like, okay, what is the context of these images, you know? I hone in and say, were you with her though? And if so, how old was she? And he says, okay, well, I'm not getting into this because you're a minor and I don't know you that well. I would just say all that S about her being 15 and me punching her in the face is fake. So basically, all he would tell me about Marky after I asked him 3 separate times about her is that she wasn't 15 and that he didn't punch her in the face. But that's like what he said. That's all I can say. That's all I will say. If she was 18 or older, I would expect him to like take the opportunity to clarify that. But all he says is that she wasn't 15. So that concerns me. And then he says, you won't get into it because I'm a minor. But when I messaged him, I was like this, you know, the same max age that Marky could have been. Like, okay. So basically, he doesn't refute that she's under 18. He doesn't refute that he was with her. I mean, he can't because, you know, the images prove it. He doesn't refute that he was sexually involved with her. He just stipulates, I didn't hit her and she wasn't 15. So Sam claims he didn't punch Marky, but someone had to have, you know, spread the blood around on her face, and they decided to keep it that way for the purpose of taking multiple pictures. This suggests that it had some kind of fetishistic significance to it, even if it wasn't intentionally inflicted. I mean, you know, just pair the nosebleed with the band-aid she has on her nose and the choker she's wearing. And I just gotta point out, he has the audacity to claim that people on 4chan are weird for fixating on the nosebleeds when he seemingly does the same thing. I've also tried and failed to reach out to Marky herself. The unique part of the situation is that Marky, at least that I could find, never made a public statement about this. Usually in these situations, it's the victim that comes out and says something, but really we just have these pictures that were dropped on the internet by who knows what person with no context provided. And it's really regrettable that this has to be brought up again and again and again, but you know, hopefully something can actually come of it this time. So that basically concludes the whole Sam Hyde Marky saga, but I have a couple more things actually. I actually have a personal anecdote from much more recently that relates to this topic and that contributed to why I wanted to talk about it. Back in 2020 during lockdown, one of my longtime online friends, a girl who was 15 at the time, told me about how Sam Hyde liked one of her pictures on Instagram, but then unliked it. She messaged him about it and actually got a response, which we both thought was kind of cool because, you know, obviously I was an MDE fan in the past and like very clearly, you know, took inspiration from them for my videos and the stuff that I do. And that's also why this sticks out in my memory. I only put 2 and 2 together that this might have been weird when I figured out the full extent of the Marky stuff. So I contacted her about it again and she gave me a screenshot of the conversation. I remember her showing me and I trust her and everything, so I know that the screenshot is 100% legit, but I understand that you guys in the audience will just have to, you know, trust me on this and take my word for it. So here's a screenshot. She says, I saw you liked my Instagram post, but because I am a retard, I didn't screenshot the notification. You must have unliked it though because now it's gone. I know I'm not going cuckoo banana nuts. I see you, Mr. Hyde. And he says, I tapped it to see if I was tagged in it and accidentally double tapped. And it looks like you are in high school, so have a nice day and enjoy the show. And she says, LMFAO, it's all good. I'm 15, been a fan for a couple years now. You've shaped my personality and sense of humor tremendously. Have a nice day, man. And he left a heart on the message. Now, this was your typical high school girl, and I know for a fact that all she posted on her Instagram account were just selfies of her. And she probably had her age in her bio, though I can't say that part for certain. However, her age was also apparent just from how she looked. And we see from what he said in the screenshot that Sam recognized that she was in high school. What reason would he have to be browsing a high school girl's Instagram account, where it's just selfies of her, nothing else? It's not a person that he knows, it's not a person that he's friends with or one of his friends is friends with, it's not a person that lives near him or anything. It's a random high school girl that has nothing to do with him. And furthermore, why would he tap on a selfie of a 15-year-old girl to see if he was tagged in it? Why would he be tagged in it? That seems to be a lie, in which case he was looking at a high school girl's selfies for what reason exactly? And then he felt the need to lie about it. And as soon as she messaged him about it, he was immediately weird about it and, you know, peaced out. She also told me that he randomly blocked her a while later, which just raises more questions. If he was checking her account for innocuous reasons, why did he lie about the reason? Why was he so uncomfortable when he was confronted about it? Why would he go out of his way to block a totally random account later on? I legitimately don't know what to make of it. To finish off, I have one more addendum about another One Team member. If you don't know, One Team is like Sam Hyde's crew. Some of you may be aware of the One Team Cancel website, which was made by a former employee of theirs. This person used to work for them, but then, decided to expose them, I guess. Most of the claims don't have any, what I would think is concrete evidence behind them, other than, this person's or that person's testimony. It's really just he said, she said, or, screenshots that may have been fabricated. So in my position, I, simply have to discard all that stuff. But there was one thing that stuck out to me because it did have concrete evidence behind it. Basically, there's this clip of Big Flame, who is a part of One Team, endorsing the rapper Roz Dilliams even after Roz was exposed for and admitted to grooming 14 and 15-year-old girls. And I'll play the clip right now.
I'll just I kind of shout some of my homies out. I guess I'll do that. Shouts out Joey. And I'll like send you handles. But Joey, Jet, Tech, CDO, Facey, B9, Shoddy, Dion, the whole One Team, Sam, Hyde, this is my bro. I think most people know where to find him that are watching this. Juju, Rapolo, Slater, Roz, Satch, James Wallace. I'm just listing off people that I fuck with on a pretty regular basis.
I have a couple imgers on hand, like collecting the screenshots of him talking to these young girls, saying, obscene stuff. Here's a picture of a girl in pigtails. She says, "I'm wearing them to school tomorrow," and he says, "handles for a toy." He gets a picture of the girl in braces. He asks her, "Marry me." He asks her, "Let me sacrifice you." He says, "Are you an adult yet?" She says, "Just 2 years." He says, "Are you gonna be my house pet in 2 years?" She says, "Yes, sir." He says, "Tell me what you think my house pet does." She says, "Listen to whatever you tell me to do." So this guy's like a certified scumbag, and after this stuff came out, he admitted to it on Twitter. These long drawn out paragraphs trying to justify his actions and whatever. I understand that I've greatly taken advantage of the dynamic of being an artist with a platform. I have had conversations with inappropriate undertones, and that is something I must accept. I am regretful for my extremely toxic, misogynistic behavior. I've used my influence and abused my power. I'm very sorry for my actions. Yada, yada, yada. This is a whole controversy in unto itself. So basically, Roz was exposed for this in 2020, and then the clip where Big Flame endorses him is from an interview from May 2021. So according to the person who made the One Team Cancel site, Big Flame said that, "I'm going to work with Roz. I literally don't care. I don't care that he's a pedo. No one cares anymore. Everyone's moved on." But again, that part is unverifiable. But even though that's unverifiable, the part that we do know for sure already speaks for itself. Big Flame has to be aware about what Roz did because he knows him personally, and this was, a huge thing for him. It wasn't just some small blip. It was a huge expose against him to the point where he himself admitted it on his Twitter, which, Big Flame is mutuals with, so he would have seen that. So Big Flame has to know about it, but for some reason, he just doesn't care. So back to Sam, and to close this thing off, there's something of a question of whether this is a pattern of behavior for him, as it often can be for people like this, and he's like a pedophile and he's fixated on young girls, or if this was like a one-off thing or more of a byproduct of some kind of generally loose morals and general sexual deviancy. I just don't know. I can't say which way it is, but that's about it from me. And hopefully the next time I post can be under better circumstances.
If they have big milky tits, if they're already blowing in middle school, they're already giving head, they're fucking, then how is that pedophilia? Is that a child? If she's like grabbing your cock and riding you and doing this voluntarily, it's not because you're making her do it. Is that still a child that you're fucking, or is that a fucking straight up hoe? I don't know. I'm an alien.